Welcome back, Kiss Army, to another episode of We Are One. You wanted the best and you got the best, the hottest channel on the land. We Are One. Here I am, here you are. Welcome to Psycho Circus Kiss Army for another edition of We Are One. Bruce Kulick has suggested that Kiss's Carnival of Souls suffered because of the reunion tour. Obviously this is true, but Bruce goes a little farther and suggests that the recording of the album and the production of the album suffered as a result of the planning of the reunion tour. We're going to take a look at this article from Ultimate Classic Rock titled, Did Kiss Carnival of Souls Suffer Because of Planned Reunion? Written by Martin Keelty. Former Kiss guitarist Bruce Kulick suggested that their Carnival of Souls album may have suffered from lack of attention because Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley were distracted, quote-unquote, over their reunion with the original lineup members, Ace Frehley and Peter Criss. While Kulick and drummer Eric Singer were working on the LP in 1995, plans were underway for the original lineup to appear partway through their episode of MTV's Unplugged show, without Bruce Kulick and Eric Singer's knowledge. Those discussions led directly to a full-scale reunion tour in 1996, which grossed more than $140 million and became the band's most financially successful road trip. Bruce said the following, quote, Eric Singer and myself did not know about any kind of reunion tour until 3/4 into recording Carnival of Souls. So we were just moving forward with new music. And I have to admit that by the time Gene and Paul told us about the reunion tour, they were a bit distracted. Maybe the mix could have been better or different, because their attention was certainly split with something very exciting that they were going to do. But in many ways, I'm glad I didn't know any sooner than 3/4 through the recording of Carnival of Souls. So this is actually pretty interesting, considering the fact that Bruce is always just the most polite guy that you can imagine. And this really shows when he was talking about the fact that he says because their attention was certainly split with something very exciting that they were going to do. So Bruce knew how big the original lineup reunion tour was going to be. He knew that at some point this was likely to happen. And elsewhere in other interviews, he's mentioned the fact that Eric Singer was completely caught off guard and was absolutely furious for many months after this news found out. Of course, Bruce and Eric ended up forming ESP, and they did that for a while, and then Bruce ended up with Grand Funk, and Eric Singer ended up being brought back in certain legs of Kiss's reunion tour, replacing Peter Criss. And as now we know that it all worked out in Eric's favor, as he is still a member in Kiss and has been the longest tenured drummer for Kiss up to this point. And Tommy has just passed Bruce as the longest tenured guitarist in Kiss. So you got to take a look at the fact that Bruce clearly is very aware of the fact that he got to be in Kiss. He probably had never thought that he would be in such a successful group, which I believe he's mentioned in other interviews. And I think that it's quite obvious that the Carnival of Souls album did suffer. And Bruce has always maintained the fact that he originally thought that the album was never going to come out. He believed that it was going to continue to be a shelved album and never see the light of day, but Paul had told him otherwise, and Kiss ended up releasing it during the reunion tour. So this is probably partially what suffered the sales of it. And I think that Bruce probably would have been happier, as well as Eric, if this had dropped alongside the Unplugged album. So they could have had a double type of thing like they did with the solo albums back in '78, releasing all 4 at the same time. But rather than 4, it would have just been 2, and this would have just promoted this last leg of the band before the reunion tour took place. I think that would have made this album much more successful. And the interesting thing about the album in terms of the Kiss fandom is that it is either a really loved album or people just think it is a garbage album. I personally think it's a great album. I really like the playing on it. I like the heaviness of it. It definitely isn't a traditional Kiss album, much like The Elder, but I like that one too. And I think this just adds to Kiss's catalog, to the fact that there is an album of Kiss music for any mood that you're in. And I think that Bruce would suggest that he is proud of this album as well, considering whenever he goes to conventions, he really demos what he did with working with I Walk Alone. That wraps things up for me in this video, guys. Talk to me in the comment section down below. Thank you guys for watching. God bless you, and remember, God gave rock and roll to you. God bless you all.